I wanted to do a short introductory video to orient you to the course and how you'll be using Blackboard in order to engage with the course. So what we're looking at here is the very first screen that you should come upon. It has the announcements, and so what I will do each week, really on Sundays ideally, I will have a list of all of the tasks that you'll need to be completing for the week. These are also found in the syllabus, which I'll get to in a minute. Each week, more or less, you're going to have the same basic expectations. There will be some level of reading. It's on average about 2 chapters. I think the highest you have to read is maybe 2.5 chapters, sometimes 1.5. There's always going to be a few videos. I have in the syllabus that you can expect to watch about 2 hours worth of videos. It's typically less than that, so this week is actually kind of heavy. The evolution is 10 minutes, true life is an hour, cultural competency is about 5 to 8 minutes. So you can see it's still well under the 2 hours, and this is probably the most videos you have to watch. Now, the third thing that you'll need to do is write a short reflection paper on one of the videos. So the reflection paper is usually going to be about 3/4 to 1 page single spaced. And as the syllabus gets into, you're basically reflecting on some of the points in the video and connecting it with your own ideas, your own experiences. Fourth thing you'll be doing each week is to be engaged with the discussion board forums. Since this class is meeting online and not in person, the only way for you to really engage with me and with your peers is through these discussion boards. Each week you will have 2. You can see this week there's a discussion on the brain injury video, which is the true life. And then there's also going to be a separate discussion board on cultural competency and that video. So you'll post once to each board, and then you'll respond twice on each board. The due dates you can see are listed there. And then the final thing that I have up there is to basically give you a heads up for a mental health presentation you'll be doing. That's due in week 3, but I definitely want you to start working on that now. All right, so to give you a little bit of a tour, you have the announcements, which is what we're on right now. You can get that there. The other thing I want to draw your attention to is the syllabus. Any amendments that I make to the syllabus after posting this video, I will have in the announcement. So if you go ahead and open up this syllabus now on Tuesday afternoon, it should be up to date. And I'll get into what the syllabus contains. Each week, as I said before, you will be asked to write a reflection paper. You can see that the reflection paper is due to me by email on Thursday nights. Each week I will give you a short summary of what I want you to be considering in the reflection paper. Sometimes I might give you more questions than you necessarily need to answer. I'm basically just trying to prime the pump and give you some ideas on what you might want to cover. I'm going to skip quizzes for the moment and go to the video links. As I said before, each week has videos. You can access them by clicking on the title. Week 1, as I already discussed, you have the evolution video, this MTV video on brain injury, and then there's a third one that I'll be posting soon on cultural competency and the fact that we need to be familiar with how culture can influence people, and in particular how it can influence patients and the type of care that they are seeking from you. So the videos, you can either click on it right here, or quite often it works best to just copy the link right here and then paste it, into the browser window, which I'm not going to do at the moment. All right, so you have your video links, and I've tried to get all of the videos except for that cultural competency up, and so you can certainly watch videos ahead of time if you have some free time. The course information site is sort of a catch-all that contains these 2 things right here, and then I may end up posting some additional things on there, and I'll let you know if I do. I'll let you know by email and by an announcement. What I have in there right now is a link to our textbook website. sometimes students find this relevant. There are some tutorials and some quizzes, some study aids. These are especially helpful when you don't have online quizzes that are open book and you need some additional study time. But there's a lot of really great information on the textbook website. The other link that I have is to the Purdue Online Writing Lab, which is probably the best source for APA style information. A lot of students will use this to get information on how to do in-text citations and how to format their reference list, but it certainly has the complete information on APA style. All right, now I have clicked onto the discussion board, and I don't think your discussion board shows up in the same view as mine does. So what should come up for you is course information, and then there should be another forum, one on brain injury and one on cultural competency. But let me just speak briefly on this course information discussion board. As I have listed right here, you should use this board anytime you have questions that you think might possibly be relevant to somebody other than you. So if you have a question that is solely related to the paper, the reflection issue that you are doing and nobody else could possibly be interested in my answer, then send me an email. But if you have a confusion about an assignment, reading assignment, a link doesn't work, something that other people might be interested in, please go ahead and open up this discussion board. And then when it opens up, in the subject heading, I'd like for you to write your name, and then you can write a subject about your question, or if this is in one of the regular discussion boards, you would write the title right there. But make sure that your name is on there. It just makes it easier for me to grade. It makes it easier for your classmates to figure out whom they're responding to. And then you type in your message. So you can say the reading assignment doesn't make sense to me, and elaborate on that. And then you'll go ahead and post it by submitting. Now, one of the things that I have done for this course information discussion board is allow you to post messages anonymously. I don't know, maybe you're embarrassed about your question, you can post it anonymously. On the actual graded discussion boards, however, you cannot post anything anonymously. I'm going to cancel that so it doesn't save. All right, so again, you would just hit thread, and that would open up your opportunity to write a discussion. All right, like I said, my view isn't exactly the same as your view for the discussion board, and that's because I have divided the class into 3 separate groups. It can be a little unwieldy if I had all 21 of you responding to one another. So what I've done is I've created 3 groups of 7. And so let's say you are in the red group. I believe that when you click on discussion board, you will see the course information that I just showed you, and then you should see something like this, these 2 different discussion boards. If that's not what you see, post something to the course information board and let me know what you do see. All right, so these are the 2 discussions that I'd like for you to participate in during the first week. So we read through this, you can see it's relevant to the cultural competence video. Click on it, you're going to open up a thread, and again, you're going to title the thread with your last name and then the subject of it. So that would be price, and I'll just type in culture, and then I will write my post, and you will certainly write something more substantive than that, and then I go ahead and click submit. All right, so that's what you need to have done by Thursday. You need to have your original post. Now then, in addition to posting, I'm also asking you to respond. In order to respond to a classmate, you would ideally read what everybody has posted, choose one that speaks to you, click on it, and then once you click on it, you will be able to respond. So I just hit reply, and now I can type in my reply. Yes, price, that was very interesting. and here is why. So I wanted to emphasize this here is why part, because don't just agree or disagree. Explain why you're agreeing. Elaborate. Add something to the conversation. Okay? Sometimes students will just say, wow, that was really interesting. I totally agree. That is a crummy response. Elaborate on that. Like I said, please make sure that you are adding something to the conversation. So you do your response, hit submit, and you will see your response showing up right below that other person's thread. All right, you can see I've come back to the main page. If when you hit the discussion board, you aren't able to see that week 1 brain injury and cultural competence discussion board, another way you can access that is go to communication. This is also the way that you could send me or anybody else an email. You can go to group pages, and then let's say you're in the red group, you can click on it here and then go to group discussion board. That's a little more awkward than I would like it to be for you, but it is the one way that I know actually works. All right, I've come back to the main page. In order to check your grades, this one's probably the most intuitive. You go to My Grades. Nothing shows up for me on here, but for you, you'll get a listing of all of the assignments that we have, or at least that you've done so far, and you can see the grade that you've gotten. Now, one thing that I skipped over was the quizzes. So let's open this right now. The quizzes, I will have them all posted by the time the course actually starts. In the meantime, I encourage you to take this course information quiz. I guess I should say I strongly encourage you. I will remind you by this weekend if I see that you haven't taken it yet. When you open up a quiz, you will ordinarily see a timer. So you can see this test has a 1-hour timer. Since I'm previewing it, the timer doesn't appear, but for you, you will see it, I think, above. And you will go through, all of the questions are available, but I do want you to be aware of the fact that the answers are randomized. So if you are writing on a scrap piece of paper your answers, don't just write, oh, I really like A. I'm just going to write down A on my scrap piece of paper. Go ahead and write A or just syllabus. So that way, if there's some kind of technical glitch and you lose your quiz, you still have all the answers written down, and so you don't have to invest another 40 minutes in taking the quiz all over again. This course information quiz are a variety of things that I want to make sure that you know before you start the class. Pay no attention to the points. These points don't matter. This is not going to be recorded as a grade. It's just a way for me to know that all of you know these basic expectations about the course. So hit submit. If you hit save, it's not going to show up for me. It's not going to be graded. You need to hit submit. I'm just going to hit OK. And then what will happen is you can see that the answers will come up there. There's a lot more information about the quizzes that will be available in the syllabus, so I definitely encourage you to read over your syllabus. On that note, I have brought the syllabus up here so I can go through that with you. One thing I want to draw your attention to is this time allotment. Since we are meeting online, we don't have any what we would call seat time. Each semester, if you're going to a traditional class, you would be sitting in your seat for approximately 45 hours over the course of the semester. Pennsylvania Department of Education requires that we demonstrate how we are satisfying those 45 hours of seat time through the things that you're doing online. And so this is what is being explained right here. I do want to emphasize to you, though, that just as in any regular class, you presumably wouldn't just expect to sit in class and do nothing else. Obviously, you have outside of class activities like reading the textbook and the occasional homework assignment. So please be mindful that you will be, in these next 6 weeks, you will be putting forth more than 45 hours, arguably. More than 7 hours a week, definitely. If you need to contact me, the best way to do it is first post something on the discussion board if it's relevant to the class. also send me an email. You can do that directly or you can do it through Blackboard. I will be available in my office Tuesday, Wednesday afternoons, but definitely I will answer your emails, certainly within 24 hours, usually within a few hours, unless you're sending it at 2 o'clock in the morning. Here are the various things that you will be graded on. I've talked about the discussion boards, talked about the quizzes, the reflection papers, and in just a moment I want to talk to you about these other two assignments, the memory brochure and the mental health presentation. Hopefully you have a copy of the textbook. If you do have a copy of the 7th edition, that's fine. Email me and let me know, and I will give you the revised page numbers that you need to read. Excuse me. Basic policies. You are expected to submit work by the deadline that's expected, so a lot of things are due either Thursday night or Sunday night. I have that I'd like it by midnight. Quite frankly, I'm not going to be grading things at 12:30 in the morning, so as long as it's in my inbox when I get up and start grading at 8 o'clock the next day, we're good. So, yeah, it says turn it in to me Thursday evening. If you're turning it in, 4 o'clock in the morning, technically Friday morning, that's fine. Definitely encourage you to create a backup file of all of your work in case there is some kind of technical glitch. Another thing that's really nice about doing that is that you can have Word run a spell check and a grammar check. That way you aren't losing points for, silly kind of spelling errors. So really I encourage you to compose things ahead of time in Word, or if you're taking the online quizzes, like I said before, you might want to write your answers on a scrap piece of paper because the internet can lose connection, that kind of thing. If you have to turn stuff in late, let me know. My official policy is that for every day that something is late, there's a 10% penalty. After a week, I'm not going to accept it. But, if you're in the hospital, your spouse is in the hospital, something big is happening, please contact me and we can probably work something out within reason. I mentioned to you earlier in this that I do check my email frequently. If I'm going to take longer than 24 hours, I will send an email and post an announcement. So anytime I make a change to the course, that will be in the announcements. But I try not to make changes very readily. All right, standards for writing assignments. You want to follow APA format. Having said that, really the assignments, I don't need a title page. I don't need an abstract for most of this stuff, for any of the stuff. You're not writing any formal papers here. The main reason why I have the APA format is to remind you that whenever you do a reference, you want to follow APA format. You don't want to use sexist language. You want to use appropriate grammar and way of writing. So, APA format for this class, I'm not too rigid, but I do want to make sure that you're following these basic guidelines. Academic dishonesty, you can see I have a couple things in here I want you to be mindful of. Plagiarism. If you are knowingly duplicating the work of others, whether it's published work or another student's, you know that that is plagiarism and you know it's wrong, and I want you to know that you will receive a 0 on the assignment. If it occurs more than once, you will fail the class. Either way, 0 on the assignment or failure of the class, it will be reported to the Academic Integrity Committee. A little bit fuzzier, if you are quoting information without giving a proper citation, that's a problem. And quite frankly, I really don't like when students quote official sources. It typically reads like the student didn't understand what they were reading. So try to avoid quoting. If you do it, make sure that you cite it properly. And this option C is something that students do, and I think they don't necessarily realize that it's plagiarism. And that is really closely summarizing multiple sentences, so that the student's paper, like 3 paragraphs, read almost exactly like some official online source. And I go to the source and I can basically predict what that source is going to say next based upon what the student has written. That is plagiarism, even if you cite the source. Because I want your writing to be your own original ideas, your way of interpreting this data that you're finding. And if you ever have questions, please contact me or contact somebody in Learning Resources. We're all happy to help you kind of figure out what is the right way to summarize source information without plagiarizing. Now, the next thing that's in the syllabus are the expectations for each week. So when I post that stuff on the announcements and tell you what's coming up, I'm basically summarizing what is here. Now, I'm going to go on down to the various assignment information. Okay, so I went through all that week 1, week 2, week 3 business. And now I'm at the different types of assignments that you have. I've talked about most of them. One thing I haven't talked about yet is the mental health presentation that's due basically in the middle of week 3. And this is something that you definitely need to prepare ahead of time. You will be doing a presentation, and I would like that presentation to have both auditory and visual components. So there are different things that you can use. I have links on Blackboard to different things that you can use. Whoops, I have a little mistake right there. So you could narrate a PowerPoint. You could do a screencast like I'm doing right now. There is some animation software that's really easy to use where you could have like a little cartoon character doing your presentation for you. So that's why I really want you to start thinking about it now. If you are a technophobe or you really haven't done anything online and you're really overwhelmed with this, please let me know as soon as possible and we can work together. And there are definitely pretty low-tech, easy to approach ways of creating presentations. You will need at least 3 reliable sources, and I'll talk more on week 2 as what counts as reliable, and I'll have links on Blackboard for that, and also a scholarly source. So we will go over the difference between reliable and scholarly. I have various topics that you might choose from. If there's something you would like to do your presentation on related to mental health and healthcare that's not on this list, just send me an email. I have the grading rubric right here for all of the assignments. I will be using a rubric, so pay attention to this as you are preparing your assignment. When you do your presentation, you're going to pull together about 5 minutes of you presenting, and somewhere in that presentation, ideally at the end, you're going to pose a question to the class. And then the class will discuss your question in that week's discussion board. All right, so the second major assignment, I guess, that you have is the Memory Brochure, which is due in the middle of the last week of class. We're going to be discussing learning and memory that week. And you are going to do a basic brochure, very user-friendly brochure on one of these topics or another topic of your choice. Just send me an email and let me know. You're going to make a brochure. I have posted some templates that you can use. I have had a number of students use these without any problems. And then also we will be discussing each other's memory brochures on the discussion board in week 6. I have the rubric here. And then I did want to direct your attention each of the other types of the assignments. There is a rubric. This is what I will be using. Each quiz has, I think, 25 questions, so you don't really need a rubric for that. It's just multiple choice. Discussion board, you can see I have the deadlines here. Expectations for the discussion board. And that brings me to the end of the syllabus and pretty much the end of this course introduction video. If I've left something out, you're confused about something, again, go to the discussion board and post your question under course information. I will go ahead and check with everybody over the weekend to see that you've all accessed the discussion board, answer any questions that has come up. But please don't hesitate to contact me or post something on the discussion board as your questions and concerns come up. All right, I look forward to a great semester.